Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Dinosaur Island. Since we came back to the island for Season 3, we have been here for over half a year. And we have been here through many seasons. We started out in early winter, went all the way through spring, experienced the northern dry season during early summer, but now it is late summer, the time when it is the hottest on the south side of the island, and the heat is especially getting to some of the larger animals, like the Tyrannosaur pack. Most of the pack gets to sleep through the heat of the day in the shade. But not all the pack is so lucky. While most of them sleep, at least one of them must keep guard for other predators. Right now, Bloodtooth is the one keeping guard. Right now, she is still doing a decent job of moving in and out of the sun in the shade to keep cool. But as the day grows longer, it becomes harder. The next morning, we see the pack boredly walking around their nest. It is still early enough in the day right now that the heat is not getting to them too much. The pack has been facing a big problem for the last couple of months. And no, it is not the heat. This is something much worse. It is the size of their prey. Right now, on this side of the island, all of the herbivores and prey animals seem to be either tiny little ornithopods or huge lumbering sauropods. There are almost no prey animals in between these two extreme size ranges. Unfortunately, that non-existent in-between size is the exact size of prey that the Tyrannosaurs need. It looks like after years of hunting here, the T-Rexes have finally depleted their own food supply. There is only one thing for the pack to do. Despite the fact that the north side has an unstable climate and other large predators like Carcharodontosaurus and Giganotosaurus, they must migrate there. It is their only option right now. All the pack members know what is coming. Even little Tyrant is at least a little bit prepared for a journey like this. But he cannot be truly prepared until he experiences it. Bloodtooth takes a few steps in a northerly direction. Although it doesn't look like it, this is truly the official start of their massive journey. Nigel pauses for a moment and gives a farewell roar to the south side of Dinosaur Island. One week later. 7 days may not sound like a very long time, but nonetheless, the Tyrannosaurs have made quite a lot of progress. Little Tyrant is not faring so well. Even though they have only been traveling for a week, he is already starving and exhausted. And he is lagging behind. He is far at the back of the pack right now. Thankfully for poor little Tyrant, luck is about to be on their side. Grant sees something, a possible prey animal. Small, but it'd be enough to feed little Tyrant. And that is what he needs most right now, food. The possible prey animal is a tiny little Leptoceratops. Grant has successfully killed the Leptoceratops. He calls over little Tyrant to come and eat it. He arrives immediately and starts feasting excitedly. Hopefully this will get him at least a week or two more into this migration before he needs food again. He will have to learn to eat less than usual, but this will help him along for sure. Two weeks later, and the Tyrannosaurs have moved to one of the most famous locations from the south side of the island. It is, of course, the dark woodland. As you can see, it is not all that dark right now, which is odd because usually this time of year is when it is thickest with foliage. It looks as though the heat has made it suffer as well. Right now, though, the pack is not moving. They are resting. However, one member of the pack is not sleeping. Little Tyrant has decided to go and explore the dark woodland a bit. Little Tyrant has stopped in his tracks. He sees something dangerous. The thing that he has seen is a young male Carcharodontosaurus. His mere presence is a sign that they are getting closer to the north, for these creatures rarely venture very far south. Little Tyrant begins to back away slowly. He is terrified. He is backed up into a huge wall of vines and thick vegetation. He can no longer back any further away from the Carcharodontosaurus. It appears that there is nothing left for Little Tyrant to do. Nothing left that can save him. When suddenly... the Carcharodontosaurus is dead. Thanks to Rex. Little Tyrant will have to be more careful in the future, because Rex might not always be there to save him. A week and a half later, the Tyrannosaur pack are still traveling. We see Grant is moving through some very thick vegetation. But finally he reaches the edge of it and goes to join the rest of his pack. Well, here it is. This is the same cliff that Nigel almost fell down when he was separated from the rest of the Tyrannosaurs. But it is not just that. It is something that I have not told you about yet. But now is the perfect time. Have you ever wondered why the island is in two sides? Have you ever wondered why characters like Katie, Redsail, Stoneback, and Para are all constricted to the north, and characters like these Tyrannosaurs, the Utah Raptors, and Blizzard are always constricted to the south? It is because of the location that the Tyrannosaurs have just reached. A great canyon. This is Dinosaur Island's Great Divide. It runs right down the middle of the island in a west-east direction and separates the north from the south. This is the biggest impasse that these Tyrannosaurs will reach in their migration, and it could take a very long time to cross this canyon. But the Tyrannosaurs cannot simply jump down the cliff. That would kill them, obviously. But they have a way of getting across. The Tyrannosaurs will use a smaller canyon towards the west, known as Spinosaurus Pass. It is named this because it is the same canyon that the Spinosaurus was in when he had his great battle with the Giganotosaurus and Bloodtooth in Season 2. This pass will allow them to cross through the divide. Safely. Well, almost. It is only a few miles away from where the Tyrannosaurs are right now, and they begin to make their way closer to it. A few minutes later, they arrive at Spinosaurus Pass. Nigel ushers for the pack to start to move on, but they don't. Because Grant hears something. Something big. This is not an earthquake. This is something worse. Up the other side of the canyon is a huge herd of sauropods, and they are stampeding straight for the Tyrannosaurs. Most of the Tyrannosaurs get out of the way in time. But for Rex, it is too late. Rex has been crushed. Thankfully for the Tyrannosaurs, well, the rest of them, the stampede does not last much longer. And the last couple sauropods finally leave. But the stampede was the least of the pack's worries. For now, standing before them is the thing that spooked all the sauropods in the first place. It is a male Giganotosaurus. Bloodtooth moves in for the fight. Bloodtooth ushers for the rest of the pack to go through the canyon. She will handle this. Before he goes, Grant gives Bloodtooth a farewell roar, just in case they never see each other again. Nigel stares into Rex's wide-open, lifeless eyes. The look of fear is now frozen on his face for eternity. Rex was Nigel's only real friend in the pack, and he will miss him, but he knows that he must go. Weeks later, we see that the Tyrannosaurs have reached their last impasse, the rock desert. They waited for a full week at the base of the rock desert, waiting to see if Bloodtooth would catch up, but she never did. Now the pack, well, what remains of it, can only imagine what horrible death Bloodtooth must have suffered while fighting the Giganotosaurus. However, the loss of pack members is the least of their problems. Little Tyrant is dying. He is young and small, and he cannot handle how long he has gone without food and without water. He will not last much longer. Still, though, he knows that their destination cannot be that much further ahead, so he pulls himself together and uses the last of his strength to go on with Nigel and Grant. He can only hope that the migration will come to an end soon. Grant turns around just to check to make sure there are no other predators. And he sees something. It may be hard to believe, but miles and miles behind them is Bloodtooth. She did survive. She roars to the rest of her pack. And they answer. She goes towards them, rejoicing. We thought for sure that Bloodtooth must have been dead, but we were wrong. She truly is the master of living and surviving on Dinosaur Island. Grant is the first to greet her. The two mates rejoice in their reunion. 3 weeks later, and things are not going so well for little Tyrant. He has now not had water in over a month, and he is lagging far behind as well. He is now foaming at the mouth, and from a combination of exhaustion and heat stroke, he collapses. His mother, Bloodtooth, approaches him. She nudges at him, but he does not get up. He calls to her, for he is still alive, but barely. However, in the dinosaur world, maternal instinct only goes so far. Bloodtooth has no reason to believe that little Tyrant will survive any longer, and she leaves him for dead. He watches as his pack abandons him, and then his life ends. Only 5 days later, and Grant finally sees what he has been wishing to see for so long. The pack may now rejoice, for they have finally reached their destination. The rock desert ends here, and what begins is the north side of the island. The pack has made it, finally. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Dinosaur Island.